and welcome to episode 21. I'm Sandy Gulliver, host of Just Us. I'm here with my co-host, Sandra Baskin.
Hi, everybody.
And Daryl Annisfeld. And we have a special guest today that I met a couple weeks ago while I was on set. We were both extras on this feature film, and John Whitman, was talking to one of the other extras about cryptocurrency. I didn't pay much attention to the conversation, but then about 2 days later in the Chicago Tribune, they had this huge full-page article about it. And I said, maybe it's time for me to start paying attention to what this is, because I don't have a clue. And I think that's pretty typical. And I asked John then if he would come on and start from square one and explain the crypto and what is Bitcoin, that's you hear a lot about. So John Whitman, say hi.
Hi, welcome, John.
Hi, everybody. Hello, ladies.
Tell us, where
Okay.
Pretend I don't know anything and just start from square one.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, so first of all, it was lovely meeting Sandy. As she mentioned, we were extras in a movie, and I really learned a lot about the movie industry. That was my first time I was an extra, so thank you for your guidance and advice on that. We really enjoyed ourselves for the day. And, the writer's mom was there, and she said, well, I hope you're going to be all right, because you're probably going to be in a room with people for 8 hours and probably shoot for a couple hours. And I said, I could probably talk for 8 hours straight, so I think I'll be fine. So, but in all fun, we had a great time, and I really enjoyed it. So anyway, so a little bit about me. I was a corporate guy for a Fortune 10 company, spent many years in the business, and on the side, I did a lot of investing. So over the years, I've accumulated a little bit of stash, doing investing, and I decided to retire early and put more focus on investing. And then I'm working on different projects, because when you work for somebody else, you kind of do what they tell you to do for a number of years. And then when you're retired, you got a little bit more time to spend on other things that you've kind of been interested in. So I've always liked investing. Now I'm getting into movies a little bit, some music stuff. But anyway, that's probably another show. But so, yeah. So cryptocurrency. So let's start off. I always like to start off when I talk about crypto is, I'll throw this out to the ladies, is why do we even have currency?
I think with.
What's that?
Because it's lighter to carry around than blocks of gold.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So if you can imagine, back in the day, you used to say, okay, yeah, I'll buy your cow for 3 pigs, a chicken, and a butterfly. And you're carting your stuff over to the next farmer or whatever down the road, and the butterfly flies away. So it was just harder to do business, for your basic needs. It was kind of cumbersome. So what happened is right around 600 BC, there was a king, the king of Lydia, which is formerly, well, now it's Turkey, but it used to be called Lydia back in the day. And the king of ladies was his name. About 600 BC, he created the first currency, minted the first currency, according to the historians. So I actually bought one of those coins, and if you go on my Twitter account, you'll be able to see the coin and some other information about mining, crypto, and those type of things. But it's not it's not a pitch, but it's just some additional information. So that's where currency started, and it was made of what they call electrum, which is a combination of silver and gold. And it was kind of crude minting because they really didn't have the molds and things that they have in these days. But what they did back then is they put pictures of animals on them. So it wasn't like, people like they do a lot, these days. They put people on coins, but it was basically, snakes and lions and rabbits and wolves and all that kind of thing. So So you can go buy a clay pot, if you have 2 owls, a goat, and a snake on you.
Yeah.
So, I always think back, wouldn't it be something, the first guy that goes up to another guy or lady and says, okay, I'll give you 3 coins for your goat. They must have said, what? You better give me some chickens. No. These coins are worth a chicken. So it must have been something to transition from bartering back in the old days to coins. But anyway, that was 2,500 years ago. So now we're kind of getting used to coins and currency. So you guys were right. So first they started doing coins, but then they figured, boy, if you see the old Western movies, you see people with sacks of gold, right?
Mhm.
Oh man, that's kind of hard to transport. Plus, they got sacks of gold, right? So then they decided, enough of that stuff. We're going to print dollars or print money on paper, right? So that's what they started doing. And then all of us as humans, we said, okay, if it has a 1 on it, it's worth $1. If it has a 20 on it, then it's worth $20. So, this is kind of a human concept. And if it has 100, that's even better. I could use a stack of hundreds, but that's kind of what we did with the whole concept of money. So now we kind of fast forward 2,000 something years, and then we have digital currency. And digital currency, although we've been doing more transactions digitally, in the modern era of the internet and all those types of things, but the banks are still involved. So when instead of giving somebody $5 or writing a check, you digitally transfer people money. But the thing is, it always goes through the banking system. And in the end, I think that, the government controls most of the banks. So that's how it's worked. But now cryptocurrency does not have the government or the banking system involved. So using crypto, I could transfer money from me to Sandy without it ever going through a bank.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Now that is a first of its kind, because the banks have always controlled, the money in people's bank accounts and credit cards and all those type of things in one way or another. So that presents a couple challenges, because number one, it's not controlled by the government, any government. So that is a challenge that the governments across the world are going to have to wrestle with and control and tax and monitor, control, whatever words you want to use, because that's a very important function of governments is, controlling the money. So that's kind of an interesting thing that is a little bit different. And it's what they call it's decentralized. So there's no centralization of the money like governments and in banks. It's decentralized to regular people that are mining Bitcoins. Let's use Bitcoin as an example. I believe there's like 4,000 cryptocurrencies now. Wow. So there's a lot of them. Yeah, there used to be a couple, but now it's running rampant. They're all over the place. And so what happens is you have individual people mining Bitcoin. Let's use Bitcoin, like I said, as an example. So just like they used to mine gold with, axes and what have you, and then equipment later on. Well, to mine Bitcoin, they use digital mining. Okay. And if you guys got any questions, interrupt me, because I kind of get on a roll and kind of talk. But anyway,
we'll try that, John. We'll try and raise our hand and see what happens.
Okay. All right, good. So what happens is they mine it. Now, what they came up with was a Japanese gentleman called Satoshi. Invented Bitcoin and came up. Now, allegedly, it was a person, but there's some folks that say it was not really a person. It was a group of people. It's kind of that folklore thing. But his name was allegedly Satoshi. And what he came up with was, okay, to mine Bitcoin, the way you were awarded Bitcoin was you would have to guess a random number. Okay. And it was pretty simple. So if you guess this random number, that means that you'd be awarded some quantity of Bitcoins. All right. So very simple very simple concept. But the interesting thing is it adjusts, the scale adjusts on an ongoing basis. So I'll get to that in a minute. So what happened is,
wait.
Go ahead.
Who came up with the number that somebody had to guess?
Right. That's a great question. So it was randomly created by the system. They call it the system. So it's Satoshi is the gentleman in Japan who created the system and the formula and the whole process. Protocol is what they call it in cryptocurrency. So the system creates a random number. Okay. Now, if you can think statistically of how to pick a random number, which could be any number, we're not talking 1 to 100. We're probably talking 1 to a trillion or whatever it might be, right? Oh, so there's a random number over there and a random number out there. And if you solve they called it the equation and get the random number, then you're awarded some Bitcoin. Okay. And then what happens is then you take control of the blockchain and then you create the next random number through using the system. You don't actually key the number in, but it's created. You're part of the blockchain. And then it keeps going and going and going and going and going. Okay. And I know, again, on my Twitter account, there's a gentleman who does a very good job of explaining mining, which I encourage you all to check out. I think we'll have it at the bottom there. But the key thing is what the true genius of what Satoshi did is what people started doing was, well, guess what? The more guesses you can guess, the better chance that you can earn Bitcoins, right? So people started using more powerful and more powerful computers to run guesses, to increase the number of guesses. Like if you and I tried to guess what the random number is on our computers, there's no way we could do it. So what they did is they started getting higher and higher and higher computing. And now they actually have equipment that does nothing but mine Bitcoin. So Satoshi knew that was coming. So what he did is he made it tougher and tougher to solve the equation, picking the random number. And they started giving away less and less Bitcoin. And it was all driven on the computing power of the computers out there trying to mine Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. We're using Bitcoin as an example. So if the computing, has gone up 10-fold, which it's probably gone up 100-fold, then they made it harder and harder and harder and harder for people to guess the right number. So it's really kind of fascinating, because otherwise, if it was simple, we'd all have a zillion Bitcoins by now, and that's not something they were looking to do. So that's kind of how it's all created, is by mining Bitcoin. So isn't that kind of interesting?
Totally.
Yeah. So any question?
Question? I have one now. I'm sorry, Sandy, did you have one?
No, I don't have one.
Okay. When you say the person that was awarded, because they chose the right number.
They picked the random number.
Okay.
Right.
And they were awarded a certain amount of Bitcoin. Do you mean they were awarded the ability to mine the Bitcoin, or they were awarded the actual coin?
Yeah. So through mining Bitcoin, they guessed the number.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, through mining. Okay.
Yeah, that's what they call it, through mining, because you're mining, you're constantly trying to figure out what this number is. Your computer's going full blast, or it's not even computers now. It's these different devices. And then you got it, and you're like, yes, I got it. I got a certain number of Bitcoin. And then you're the one who adds to what they call blockchain. It's a long blockchain, one after another, after another, after another. And now, boom, it goes out for guessing for all the other people. So now all the other individuals start guessing it using the computers. Yeah.
Got that.
Kind of complicated, but yeah.
There's no physical coin.
No, you can buy commemorative. I forget. I can't.
Commemorative.
Yeah, you can buy one, just like, plated replicas and stuff, but it's really digital.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, it's digital. So yeah, okay. Go ahead, Sandy.
So what do you use Bitcoin for once you have some?
Yeah. So the interesting thing about Bitcoin is, okay, so you have an alternate form of currency. Okay. So that in itself is kind of an interesting concept because we all know all across the world what a dollar's worth. And it might fluctuate a little bit against other currencies, but it's basically a dollar, a dollar. Now you have another currency that has been fluctuating wildly.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, I think at the beginning of the year, Bitcoin was at $600 and then it got up to
Yeah,
$59,000,
I saw that.
right?
Yep.
So the interesting thing that retailers, and there's some people getting on board now, some retailers, some sports teams that you can buy things in Bitcoin. And I don't know if you heard, but Tesla was accepting Bitcoin, but now they no longer accept Bitcoin. And one of the issues is how do you accept payment for something that's fluctuating so much? Where a dollar's pretty stable, right? So that's the challenge people have is using it for a form of payment and and using it to buy things. So that's the big challenge in crypto. And if you think about it, it all relates back to the dollar. What's a Bitcoin worth? I think today it's worth $38,000, right? But if you can imagine something being worth $600, then worth $59,000. So we all probably know somebody who said, if I would have bought Bitcoin when it was
Yeah,
$600,
yeah.
yeah, you guys know anybody who?
Yes, I know
Yeah,
somebody who
yeah.
did.
Yeah, and you know
Sandra,
somebody who
weren't
did.
you
Right,
were
right, right. Yeah,
Sandra, you were
so
advised to,
Sandy,
right?
what did you say?
You were advised to in the beginning, right? And
Yeah, I have a cousin in Toronto who really doesn't advise, but put
yeah,
this out to me. He calls me Sandy. Sandy, do you know anything about Bitcoin? And if you don't, or he may have said cryptocurrency. No, he said Bitcoin. And if you don't, you probably should learn like now.
yeah.
And then I didn't, and yeah, but I'm confused on the variance of the value. How can you how can you pay for something when that variance can happen like what in seconds?
That's the problem.
Okay, so you're going to
Yeah.
explain that to us, yes?
Well, you really can't explain it.
Oh,
I
great.
mean, if you were going to sell a sock, for something that the Bitcoin was worth let's say you had something worth $600, and you're going to say, okay, at the beginning of the year, I'm going to sell item A for $600. But now that same Bitcoin is worth 59,000. So how do you conduct business, right? So that's the challenge of Bitcoin. Now there's certain things in the blockchain technology that banks are picking up, and it's going to be more and more accepted of an alternate form of currency. And I don't know whether it's going to implode as a bubble or whether it's going to really come on to be another currency. But it's going to be hard to do that if it keeps fluctuating like it does.
What
And
if
the,
you're a retailer or a business that's willing to accept
yeah,
Bitcoin? Yeah,
there
you
are.
said that, right. How did they
Yeah,
handle that fluctuation?
yeah. Well, Tesla decided not to accept Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Because you can imagine, one minute you could buy, and that's one of the things on the financial sites is I could buy close, at 59,000, you might be able to buy a Tesla for one Bitcoin. And then all of a sudden it's now, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks later, it's worth $38,000. So, I mean, wow. I mean, if the dollar fluctuated like that, we'd be in a lot of trouble. But yeah, so that's the issue. And we're in the beginning stages of cryptocurrency. So where's it going to go? I don't know. I don't think anybody really knows. But it may become you know another type of currency. But I have a hard time believing it's not going to be controlled by the governments in some form or fashion. But
How do you invest, John?
yeah, so there's sites out there, Robinhood. I don't know if you guys are.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you probably heard something about Robinhood
Oh, yeah.
with GME and AMC and a few other. Again, and you can buy cryptocurrencies on those sites. And there's a number of other sites also, and they fluctuate. It's based off of supply and demand, what people think it's worth, just like stocks. And probably I don't get into trading dollars, forex stuff, but it's probably similar. The dollar goes up and down compared to the yen and the pound and all those other things. But the thing is that it doesn't fluctuate as much as crypto does. So yeah, but just think of it. Some guy in Japan invented an alternate currency, and yeah, it's pretty. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, who knows what's going to happen, right? So that's how we got the digital currency, and a lot of people got a lot of opinions on whether digital currency, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Dogecoin. That's one that I bought and sold and done pretty well on. But I mean, it's all very speculative. And if you're investing in, there's going to be more information on Twitter. We're going to have a site dedicated to, beginner and advanced, experienced investors, and helping people learn, because they don't really teach enough of that in any schools.
Sure.
But, if you're an older investor, crypto is kind of what you would call a risky trade, Yeah. You wouldn't want to put in, all your money in something that drops 30% in, a couple weeks, but you'd love to put it in there when it goes up 1,000% in, 6 months. So, but yeah, it's kind of a little fun you can have with it, a real small portion of your portfolio if you were interested in doing that. But go ahead. Sandra, you got a question?
Well, it's not well, yes, it is. Elon Musk hosted Saturday Night Live a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he made a comment about Doji. This is why I'm bringing it up, because that's what you mentioned them.
Yeah.
And the value went down 30%. Holy smokes.
Yeah. Yeah. And Elon is, we could talk about Elon a whole show in itself. He's
Absolutely.
He's an amazing guy, but he is catching a little bit of heat now because he single-handedly, now there are other variables, it's not just him, right? But he has single-handedly been driving up Dogecoin, they call it, and then doing Saturday Night Live and saying other things where it drops 30%.
Not good.
So yeah, then you can start, the government can start saying, are you manipulating currencies? And it's, but the interesting thing is, like you said, if Elon said, well, I don't think the dollar should really be worth $1. I think it should be worth 50 cents. Well, do you think it would really matter? No, because $1 is $1 in all of our minds. But when these celebrities, I mean, Snoop Dogg, was talking about Dogecoin. So when you have these celebrities start talking about these coins, then, it fluctuates madly, and when Elon would not take crypto anymore for his Teslas, Bitcoin has been in a dive, and that may not be the only reason, but it's one of the factors, I believe. But, it's going up and down and up and down. It's very speculative. So,
Gosh.
You got to be, if you get involved at all with trading crypto, you got to be really conservative and, and just use a small, part of your portfolio, because you don't want to spend a lifetime building wealth and then destroying it in 3 months, right?
Or overnight.
Or overnight. Yeah, no, that's a good point. So, yeah, it's very interesting, though, the whole concept of currency. So, yeah.
Are there any cryptocurrencies that are any more stable than others?
Yeah, well, there's 4,000 of them, and I can't say I'm an expert on 4,000 of them, but there's a handful that I follow and kind of keep an eye on, and Bitcoin is the they always talk about bellwethers for stocks, Bitcoin's kind of the bellwether for cryptocurrency. And as they go, the rest of the cryptos go. We call So, but there's trends. That Doji was going up while Bitcoin was going down. But in the end, I haven't seen, and I don't know all 4,000 of them. So, but if they can come up with a way, to stabilize the crypto a little bit more, it might be more useful as currency. But if you think about it, the government controls the dollar, right? The U.S. government. Well, if you don't have anybody controlling a crypto, it's non-centralized, and you probably got different rules for different cryptos, or protocol they call it. Then it's a different animal. So yeah.
Is there a ceiling? Is there a ceiling on any of these crypto coins?
Yeah. Now some of them, and that's become a major debate. Some of them have a ceiling or will have a ceiling. Some of them don't. So that's one of the important things about valuing something, is how many of them are there. If I got one coin that there's only one made of, it'll be a lot more valuable than if there was a million of these, whatever you want to call it, tokens, coins, pieces of art, whatever it is. So yeah. So it's it's kind of a new technology, a new form of currency. So it's very, very interesting. All right. What other questions you got? Yeah, go ahead, Sandra.
This one probably is not a question. I think listening to you, and thank you so much for all this info. And by the way, when I look down, I've been taking notes. I think I just figured out maybe why the scammers ask for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
They will send you an email saying, I got a good hold on your computer, send me blah, blah, Bitcoin.
Yeah.
They're taking a chance that between the time they do that and the time we send it, there's a big increase.
Yeah, well, that's, and you're probably talking about the recent example where a company paid almost $5 million in Bitcoin.
Yep.
To get the oil pipeline back up and running, which is kind of interesting in itself, because ransomware that can shut down oil flow for part of the country is kind of a risky, it's an infrastructure thing, right? So they're going to have to take a look at that. But when you can use ransomware, this isn't the first time multiple people have done ransomware. And I guess, if you get paid in Bitcoin or some sort of crypto, I guess it's harder to track
that too,
the funds flow, because it doesn't go through a bank.
Yep.
No central government, no bank. And I don't claim to be an expert on how that inner transactions all work and how you can get away with it. But it would seem to me that it'd be easier to get away with if it doesn't run through banks or governments. Sure. It's decentralized, right? So they got paid, almost, I think it was $4.6 million in Bitcoins. And they said, okay, that's enough. We've made enough money. You can have your software back, and we're not going to do it again.
Yeah, right.
Now, something tells me they'll catch them. I mean, in the end, there's got to be some trail somewhere, of where this money's going. Or currency, whatever you want to call it. But
emails somehow, or however they contacted them back for IPO addresses or something. But the only good thing I've heard, all of this sounds scary, risky, uncertain, and a few other words. And the only good thing I've heard about this is if you happen to hit it just right when the value goes screamingly high.
Yeah, when you're speculating. Yeah. And they say that the blockchain technology that is being used to mine and create these Bitcoins might be a technology, the blockchain technology part of it, that might be used by more and more companies and banks, as a matter of fact. So the technology might end up being very useful and
valuable.
Valuable. But the currency, to have an alternate currency, is kind of a tough one,
Mm-hmm.
So that's my take on it. But all right. So anybody got any other questions?
Well, if nobody does, I should warn you that it's been a half hour.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but I was
Oh boy,
spellbound.
I apologize.
That's
No.
absolutely fine, because we wanted to know as much as we could in this short amount of time, and I don't know how we could ever expect to fit all that into 20 minutes. So we are going to wrap it up for now, and if people have questions and want more information, they can either get in touch with you or they can ask us, and maybe we can do another segment. I don't know, but for now, we're going to call it a day. Okay. And this will be posted on YouTube, as all of our videos are. And
you could go on, like I mentioned. I don't know, Sandy, if you have the Twitter link down below, but you probably do. But yeah, so it's Trading Nation Station, and the Twitter feed is Trading Nation S1 for whatever reason. And there's a real good video, like I mentioned, on mining Bitcoin. It's done by 99 Bitcoins, and he'll do a better job of explaining it than I. He's really, really good at it. And then we actually have a picture of a coin that he actually bought that I was talking about earlier, and I put that up on the Twitter feed. So you might want to take a look at that. It's kind of interesting what the currency looked like 2,500 years ago. So
Sandy will post on our Facebook link all this stuff that you just said. Yeah.
And underneath the actual YouTube link, so that the people watching the video can then refer back to that once they're finished.
There too.
Okay. And if anybody else has any thoughts or things I might have missed on crypto, feel free to put it on the Twitter feed. And ladies, I've really enjoyed meeting you, and thank you for having me on the show. And Sandy, I can't thank you enough for the time we've spent together with the other extras on the movie set. That was a great experience for me, so I really enjoyed that. And I got a couple projects that have kind of spawned off of that I'm going to be working on. So thanks for your guidance there. I really enjoyed it. So
it sounds like we haven't seen the end of John Whitman yet.
No, for sure. Yeah,
probably not. And most people call me Whit because they, for some reason, people call me by my last name. My whole life they called me Whitman, and then they realized that was just too long, so they just started calling me Whit. And it's not Prince, Madonna, or Shrek, but hey, it'll work for me. You know what I mean?
We'll try and change it to Whit, but we all learned about you as John. So
yeah, that's fine. I've been called worse. So that's
all right. Well, then, thank you again for coming and explaining this to us. I think a little bit of it sunk in. And I just hope everybody finds it very useful, which I can't imagine that they wouldn't. So thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Ladies. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Well, goodbye until next week.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.